I need to have a clear strategy where players straight away get into my site and they get this feeling of trust, either through my direct site or through these Reddit communities or forums, which of course, developing a forum, I always thought it's an impossible mission based on that I have a paid theme on WordPress and based on that I have outsourced all of my, let's say, advanced coding tasks. But perhaps it's not impossible. Perhaps it's always, there's alternatives. You mentioned Reddit. That's really interesting that you can have like this forum and address people. Hey, they want the best RTP slots with the highest volatility, check hacks for gaming slots, like things like this. And that's always something that I need to learn from.
I'm John Wright, and you're listening to Affiliate BI, the business intelligence and affiliate marketing podcast brought to you by StatStrong. Welcome to the Affiliate BI podcast. Today we're chatting with Marco Braun, who is the founder or co-founder of MyTopSlot. And I'm going to pass it back to you because we're doing a not so standard podcast episode. It's all about affiliate coaching. So Marco, I just want to ask you how you got started in the space. How did you get to where you are today?
Hi, John. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me. I started back in 2022 in December. And it's worth noting that you were one of the first guys that inspired me to start an affiliate website. And I was in the affiliate space back in Malta for an operator that I worked for. Yeah, and then basically I was checking videos online. I was asking people that work for operators how I could actually start this. And I came across your video that was on YouTube with a keyword of how to effectively kickstart your affiliate journey, right? With zero experience whatsoever with coding, with SEO. Of course, I had my sales and affiliate background. But yeah, we basically started 15 months ago. We have rebranded the website twice. I started it on my own, but then I onboarded my co-founder, which is still there. He has his own job in Malta. And ever since we had the idea to bring only licensed operators in the game that we thoroughly review. And most importantly, demo slots. We have over 23,000 demo slots that people can try for free. And that through this amazing deal we have with Slots Launch, we have every day new slots from all the, I wouldn't say top, but all the providers out there because they englobe 95% of the slots releases in the world.
But yeah, going back to why I wanted to chat with you, which is I want to see if we can do this weird back and forth discussion to be helpful for you first, and then hopefully this could be helpful for other people. And I say this because in the past year, I think we all noticed, there's been a big change in affiliate marketing. Like Better Collective just announced they're revising their forecast for the year. It's down quite a bit. And that's like a big company. Now, of course, there's more behind it than just that. But I've had the fortune to be able to interview a lot of SEO people. And I keep asking the same question over and over again. What should affiliates be doing differently that because Google's changed, where should they be? And their answers are two parts. It's because Google's done this, do that. And the other group, they basically say, don't always care what Google's doing. Google's either going to be where they should be, or they're going to be behind and they're eventually going to get there. So you need to just say, whether you're with Google or not, you want to be the 2 steps ahead, such that when changes happen or when things go sideways, you're now ahead of your competitors. I want to be here as a means to help you. So this will be back and forth where I'll give you my feedback of how I think I can help your site. And then this is also your opportunity to ask any question you want.
Definitely. And I'm honored to be here. And for me, being in the game for 15 months, I know the ups and downs. I know the mistakes that I've made. We both know I'm not the biggest fish out there, but you mentioned the Google, let's say, constant updates. The one that was in March 2024 highly impacted us, which made us turn more into PPC than SEO. But of course, you need to have always a USP, right? A certain value that players get in order for them to choose your website and also for you to actually rank on Google to get to that exposure that is needed to succeed in this game.
Yeah. And then, yeah, because when I think about your site, there's a few people that I've chatted with over the last little while, like 3 sites that come to mind of how I want to use them as case studies to say, don't copy what they do exactly, like not their go-to-market and all that, but learn from each one and use that to build how is your site going to stand out? Because just to be a little honest, I've actually had slot sites over the last technically 10 years. Now they've not been prominent. I've had them with minimal effort. They actually got some search traffic, but But what I did in the past would definitely not work today. And if I had to go back into the game, I probably actually would do a slot site. But there's probably a couple sites that I really resonate with. And I would say I would want to build something that goes in their direction. So I think the one that I've been mentioning a lot over and over again is Big Win Board. I've also written a newsletter that talks about how Google's been rewarding bottom of funnel content in the form of forums. So Reddit is blowing up. Like there's a lot of groups that are actually making more money as an affiliate with just a Reddit channel, which is crazy because what does Reddit cost? $0. You don't need a website or anything. And then of course the forums, they're big.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So basically, there's many affiliates that have not on don't have a website, but they just have a Reddit account community, and that is how they would strive. That's a new reality.
Yeah, but they've also been around for quite some time. Now, some of them have actually started new Reddit groups because they've seen how big Reddit was growing. Like, I actually started a B2B Reddit group called Affiliate Software. What do I do with it? I just talk about, I don't even do long form content. I just do short form. I'm like, hey, has anyone tried this competitor? Has anyone tried this product? Or what do you think about these casino WordPress templates? Things like that. What about like Income Access My Affiliate? Things that resonate to me
Yeah.
that are part of my circle of my ideal customer profile. And with minimal effort, it's getting traffic. Like I'm not even trying and it works. And anytime I've done forums as well, like even ones that I've done as extensions of my casino portals or my B2B affiliate program reviews, they've made traffic with minimal effort. And I actually think it's becoming technically easier because when you think about the content that people resonate with, they're like, I don't want what Google's always telling me. I want what other people have to say about this. This is exactly why TikTok is a thing because people are like, I want to go on TikTok and see what people are talking about this restaurant or this city or this product or service. That's why social is becoming more important. Google's kind of stuck in the middle and Google's, okay, we're not just a search engine. We're now a social engine aggregator that's now using a lot more social signals as part of their engine.
But Google, they're also adapting now with this new implementation of AI with Gemini, because they notice if they don't step in this AI game, they will lose search results because they will users like me would turn to ChatGPT or to other AI softwares like on Edge, for example, or on Bing. So you always have to be on top of the game, as you mentioned. Yeah.
But think about it this way. What is behind that AI result? It's people. It's like websites that are people-based. They're community-based. So think about TripAdvisor and Reddit and LinkedIn and Quora and Big Win Board. It doesn't matter. There's a lot of people-driven content here. It's called UGC as unique or generated content. I think I just messed up the acronym, but it's still people behind it. Google's just aggregating that. They're aggregating it on a speed with AI, even though today I don't think it's perfect, but it will get better. Like basically, people can make a bad joke that Google's just a search engine for Reddit. I don't use Reddit as a search engine. I use Google to find what I want on Reddit. Like I've been doing this for a year.
I was making a question before I went to Ireland on Tuesday to give my speech at Edge Gaming. And I was typing, okay, which neighborhoods in Ireland should I avoid? Asked this to Google, and the third search result was on Reddit, right? So it makes sense, like that, how much of value Reddit actually has in terms of ranking and in terms of solving actual target audience based questions.
Yeah. So I think you could even use Reddit as a playbook if you want. Like I highly recommend affiliates actually consider forums because forums are two parts of value. The first value is it's user generated content. That's what I messed up the U for. So it's users that are creating content. It's bottom of funnel. It's so unique that when people see it, they're like, that's a person. I want this. The second value is that you're capturing someone's email. Think about how many websites that don't have a newsletter or don't have a registration button. When you have their email, let's say you've collected 5,000 users over the past year, and then Google dropped your site for 3 months. Like that might be your ability of sink or swim. And to have that newsletter, it could actually say, I can still send players. I still have a community. I'm maybe hurting from Google, but I also have my newsletter. And Google's actually using as many signals as possible to go, how do we know the site's real? Like they want to know that they've got visitors coming from social channels, that they're coming from natural, they're coming from other links of website. Like all these factors are a collection. And I
It's
think,
funny you mentioned this because John, ever since we had a blog with mail powers, I mean, our website is based on WordPress, which again, it might be limited, not having your own, let's say, proprietary code. Like we had an issue with mail poets, and ever since this happened 6 months ago, we are not collecting emails anymore. We don't have a box for emails and subsequently sending our top rated blog posts or special offers to users. And that's something to note on because we, of course, should have a newsletter box and should be collecting emails always as a alternative revenue stream and as an alternative in case Google puts your site down.
yeah. And then just to take the forum concept to another level, I've never seen this before, but imagine having a website where your forum is literally a Reddit button, like it's your community on Reddit. Like how many people would be, hey, wait a minute. To me, it's a subtle signal that there's more realness behind it. It's not to say that you can't have a Reddit forum full of bots, but the fact that you're basically saying, here's my community. I chose to host it, not on our own domain or subdomain, but actually on Reddit. I've not seen that done before, but it's like how you can go back and forth where you're giving yourself the ability to properly link from Reddit back to your community. Because when the link goes from Reddit to your site and people see the Reddit thing at the top, they're like, wait a minute, these two things are connected. This isn't just someone shilling some random website. It's not a random site. It's a community focused website. I'd say that's pretty similar as a playbook as Big Win Board.
And it's got to be human based. Not people want to see. I always say that the biggest factor in marketing is authenticity. You have to convey genuine authenticity because people can see right through it.
Yeah.
Fake rules or illegitimate practice. And I mean, it's key. Like a forum or a Reddit community, which of course we got to get into that. You have to show, first of all, be transparent. Second of all, don't lie around and show that you're a real person to actually make sure that you rank up and engage with those players to offer them solutions or real value in the iGaming industry.
Yeah. And then just to take something from the SaaS space where we're a SaaS company now, and I study SaaS marketing as much as possible. There's so many websites that when I'm looking at another SaaS product, if I want to use it, I care first and foremost about other users, what they have to say about it. That's one of the top things. The top two things I care about are pricing, and I want to know if people, which ones use it, and I want to know what they have to say about it. That's user-generated content all over again. So what I think is actually missing on most casino affiliate sites, sports betting affiliate sites, doesn't matter. It's all the affiliate sites, is we need some sort of feedback loop that says, hey, where can I read more upon this? Is it a product that ends up on Amazon that has a 4.4 rating? Or is there channels on Reddit where people are talking about it? Like even just to aggregate that would be super useful. So if you can find a way of, this is why I think Big Win Board is doing so well. They have on the right side of their site, they have the latest comments. These are all user generated. So they actually make the comments a little bit more prominent than other websites where other websites are like, no, we're not going to moderate this. We don't even want it on there. And Big Win Board, it's in the name, Big Win Board. Like it's a board.
Similar to Casino Meister, I used to represent an operator and I would deal with the forum a lot as a representative.
An award-winning representative.
That is true. I have your need. I wasn't going to brag about it, but we have your
There we go.
But it's for a reason. They were one of the most performing affiliate websites for Energy Casino, the brand that we represent, which by the way, is also on my site. And it's because they convey trust. There is constant interactions between players. There's real, genuine, comprehensive reviews. And honestly, I've also dig into Big Win Boards and insanely what Daniel is doing. But like Casino Meister was one of those forums, and it was back in those years, in 2020 when I joined, where I saw groundbreaking interactions. And you would find the smartest gamblers out there, and that's value. People would log in on Casino Meister and see all these discussions, see all these debates, see all these updates on illegitimate casinos that you might not want to play with. And that's the game changer. And that also explains why Casino Meister, along with Ask Gamblers, Casino Guru, latest casino bonuses were on top of the, let's say, commission stats for Energy Casino.
Yeah. And then on top of that, that's another reason why Casino Meister was acquired by Gig or now Gentoo. It's like they knew the value of this. Like I actually think they looked at what Casino Meister has been over the past 20 years and said, this is actually worth more than what it generates. It has power that is that it's actually hard to measure. But
Yeah. Now with the acquisition, they might take it to the next level, right?
yeah,
Especially
so
if it's yeah.
yeah. Now, the other sites I want to mention, I just want to highlight their USPs of why I think they're different. And one is actually doing extremely, the other one is actually, I'm working with them to try to help them convey their USP. So the first one is Live Casino Comparer. It's run by Neil Walker. I had him on the podcast a few months ago. And what's great is that Google's totally rewarded his site. He has such a unique take. He's basically become like the live dealer expert. When Brian was like the casino expert with Casino Meister, that took 20 years. He's not been doing it for 20 years, but he's been in the gaming space for a long time. But for the last 5 years, like he's been building up his site and his reputation. Like he does content that's so specific and narrowed in that now when game makers are actually building live games and actually designing them and creating them, they now go to him as a consultant because he's become the thought leader in that space. That's a USP that's drilled down. Now, one more site that the USP is not obvious, but once I heard about that USP, I told the guys, I'm like, you need to make that USP so in your face that people know about it and then they link to it. So the site is called casinowizard.com. It's run by Sammy Kurvinen, who is someone I've also interviewed on the podcast. Now, I didn't know this from the very beginning because we're all lazy. We don't always read what's in front of us. You give me 800 words and say, what do you think about my site? I'm going to look at the visuals first, and then I'm going to look at the titles, and then I'm going to look at the bullet points. I'm going to look at the tables, and the paragraphs is the last thing I want to do because I'm like, if I'm looking at a site, I'm not going through your 1,000 words on your homepage and then clicking on a casino link and then going through the next 2,000 words. It's just not happening. But what they have, which is really cool, and I didn't realize this initially, is that they actually identify all the RTP values of each slot game, and they only present the casinos that have the best RTP. So they're not concerned about going, who's paying us the most money necessarily. They're basically going, hey, if you want to play this game, the operator can configure the RTP values in a different way. So they're actually optimizing it. I had no idea. And I think once they reframe how they present that data to users, I actually think operators will come back to the site and go, hey, I'm this casino. Where are we in relation to all of our competitors? Are we overly generous or are we being stingy on giving up value from these slot games? And then if you add a bonus on top of it, how do we all compare? I think players would actually care about stuff like this.
Definitely. Of course, you're looking at an aggregator for a player that can compare different sites. And I was talking this in the conference I just spoke in Dublin, that it's so important that the affiliates in the hunt of new players. I was just showing the stat that the Dutch governing body had put out in Holland, in the Netherlands, where I'm originally from. Like 74% of affiliates, 74 of players come to the operator through affiliates.
Yes.
Now with that stats, with such data, you're basically explaining or letting know that they need us. And it's inevitable to make that bridge between operators and players with a sense of trust.
And exactly. And a lot of that trust it's been changing steadily over 20 years, but it's been user-generated content. Like I'm in the SaaS space. Where do we go to have reviews of StatStrong? Now, I don't particularly like these marketplaces, but they are technically useful. Like G2 and Trustpilot. You can actually go on there and leave a whatever star rating of you want of StatStrong. So if we actually get a favorable review, we're actually going to put that on our website and say, hey, currently it's a 4.3 rating of what people have to say about us. But the downside about working with these platforms is that they don't always link out to you. If you want that call to action, you have to pay money for it. It's basically affiliate marketing inverted. What they do is they go, we're going to get the traffic first. And then once we have that traffic and we rank for it, when people are looking for StatStrong and StatStrong alternatives, they are just constantly going to be in the top 5, like all of them. There's a whole bunch of them. Like I said, G2 and Trustpilot, and there's a GetApp and a whole bunch of them. So there's a lot you can copy from there and put it inward. But at the base of it, it's all user-generated content. I think affiliates need to go even deeper on the user-generated content side and go, show me that this website isn't just another ChatGPT's content, verbal diarrhea, like regurgitation of just keywords. No one cares about that anymore. So,
and there's so many out there, John. There's so many sites at the moment. So you got to stand out. I have to stand out more. I know.
Yeah. So that's what I want to do here is go, how do we help MyTopSlot stand out a bit more? Like I have lots of ideas, but this is where I want to go back and forth and go, what can we do to make this site stand out? So it's either it becomes so unique that it's got a better identity. So it's not just one of hundreds of slots review sites, or you can the niche rabbit hole and say, how are we going to make this the differentiator between all the other ones? So people know that this one is different.
Yeah.
So either I'm tossing this to you as a question for you, or I go and share some thoughts and opinions about what I think could be done to stand out.
Now you get into it, but for sure, like you mentioned it, and I was just checking now the website compare livecasinocompare.com. Like there is a top right corner an image and the text. It says "Ask Neil," and then you see his picture. Now
Yeah.
that's a game changer. That's something that now I think about. I'm like, if you're gonna click on my top slot, what are you gonna think initially? Again, you're not gonna look at the whole involvement of the site. People will not, even though I spent quite some money on the About Us page, they're not gonna scroll down, click on About Us, see who's the founder, what they're actually doing. So first of all, people have no time for this. And second of all, you need to have a clear strategy. I need to have a clear strategy where players straight away get into my site and they get this feeling of trust, either through my direct site or through these Reddit communities or forums, which of course, developing a forum, I always thought it's an impossible mission based on that I have a paid theme on WordPress and based on that I have outsourced all of my, let's say, advanced coding tasks. But perhaps it's not impossible. Perhaps it's always, there's alternatives. You mentioned Reddit. That's really interesting that you can have like this forum and address people, hey, they want the best RTP slots with the highest volatility, check Haxel gaming slots, like things like this. And that's always something that I need to learn from and that you for sure will let me know more in your talk.
Yeah, because even when it comes to forums, you can actually just create a subdomain. So it could be forum.mytopslot.com. That's super easy to set up. It's a subdomain, so it can actually link to software that's basically free. My personal favorite is Discourse, but another way of doing it without having any technical setup or hosting or all that fun stuff, just do it on Reddit. And then going back to what you said about Neil, where he's got his picture, it's on every page. It's personal branding. And there's one thing that I've learned in my journey of going from being an affiliate and also being a B2B affiliate and then creating a SaaS company is that's why I work so hard on my podcast and LinkedIn. People buy from people. Now,
Yeah.
you're no different. Your story, your About Us page is actually probably more important than you realize. You have no idea if someone's actually going to click on it. The traffic might be super low, but that person who's actually gone out of the way to click on it is actually going, why should I trust you? And if you've actually won them over with your story about going, hey, this is my journey in iGaming. This is what I want to do for you. Like I'm here to represent you on your behalf and work with these game providers and casinos. You've won their trust, and that might be the difference of them going, okay, I'm now going to join your newsletter. They're probably your next depositing player, ready to click on your links and be your fan.
And talking about personal branding, you also are quite, not to mention Stats Drone. I think that's a huge game changer, and you actually provide solutions for affiliates like us to look for the best offers or the best affiliate programs. But ever since we met digitally, but then we met in person in Sigma last year, I've been following your personal branding on LinkedIn. And though I'm not all every day on LinkedIn, I get some inspiration and also see the success you have with it. And it's for me like a lesson to get because eventually it's all about storytelling. It's all about how you convey trust, how you're able to talk in front of the camera. Like you told me this a few months ago on a call. Nobody wants to get in front of the camera. Most of the people would feel uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable at first, but eventually you get over that line of shame. Keeping it short, like the personal branding on LinkedIn, been enhancing that more and more, especially now that I get invited to such conferences. And it's in alignment with what you have been portraying for the last years to know you. So know that you have been a big influence in me also stepping over the line. And I haven't posted much videos as you have, but I'm constantly making posts and endorsing other partners or people like you. And this is always see the stats. Like in October, I had a 90% increase on the overall LinkedIn stats. Now, data talks by itself, right?
Yeah. No, I'm obviously a big believer in personal branding. And I think even though you are a B2C product with your affiliate site, I do think one thing a lot of people are neglecting is the B2B component and how you tie that in. I actually believe, and I tell this to game providers, that they need to be more connected, not through the casinos, which get to the players. They need to actually not always bypass the casino, but look, if you bypass the casinos and go right to the affiliate sites, you're basically going right where the players are. That eventually goes right back to the casino. It's a different model rather than a left to game provider to casino to affiliate to player. But it's if you jump to the affiliate, you're jumping to the player. It's all going to go back to the casino. I think
Yeah.
when players get that VIP attention, they always want to feel special. And game providers is a gateway towards it. I think some of them understand this now, and I think the change is happening. So I think if you incorporate this into your, I don't want to call it marketing strategy, I'd rather call it a content strategy. Become one of the platforms that Hacksaw Gaming thinks about when they want to reach players. Right now, Big Win Board has their top of mind, Casino Meister's top of mind. You need to get in there and go, okay, it's not to say that you're going to be just like them, because it's like Casino Meister, casino complaints, Big Win Board. They've just been good for a long time. You're not just going to leapfrog them and be like, oh, you're going to be number one at them. But that's why I keep going back to keep zeroing in on a USP and go, how are we going to share a story about why we're different? What are players going to come to you so you're just not another affiliate site? I think as long as you stay, if anyone remains in the just another affiliate site territory, you're like dead on arrival. Like it's a very dangerous place to be. Because
Yeah.
Google's going to be, why am I actually giving you this traffic? I'm going to give it to you like all these 100 random sites, and you're all going to go up and down. And eventually you can't survive on it. You have to actually stand out from it and grow.
Yeah. It's funny. It's really interesting you mentioned this. I think we both share, let's say, the mindset and the vision of starting something. I think one of the most hardest points is, first of all, stay stubborn on that vision. Second of all, keeping that line of, okay, that is my goal. That is my USP. Now, I've always had clear, okay, I'm extremely good at representing the brand operator in this case at conferences. I'm good at making the player feel welcome, even though I was a brand ambassador, aka affiliate manager at Energy Casino. I was also like a VIP for them, and that was actually like it's one of the main points of, okay, I can be that bridge. And again, you say that it's like a triangle. It's like affiliates, operators, providers, like they're all the same space. But of course, you have to dig deeper into that and master that part of, okay, how do I come across as a bridge, as a trustworthy affiliate, and using that personal branding of, I've worked in the industry for many years. I know which brands to work with, which not to work with. I've been on the side of the affiliate space where I would deal with many websites that me as an operator would have to accept, reject, or be skeptical of continuing partnerships. And that's what a player wants. The player eventually, and I have family members like from Holland, like they were poker professional players, but it was more land-based, even though he would also play online. But eventually they're looking for a place where they feel welcomed, where they feel they're not going to get scammed, and where they can make some money, right? Eventually on on a responsible level, of course, but like that is initially like the USP I've always had, but it's important to stay in line with that vision. And as you say, not compare ourselves with Big Windboard or with Casino Meister, because they all have their own, let's say, USP. And Casino Meister, Brian, I think when I met him in London, 2022, when he gave me that trophy, I was asking him, like, how did you start this? Like, how did you actually thought, okay, let's buy this domain, let's start a forum. He started this in 1998. He bought a domain and he had it's a passion. He was a veteran, by the way. He's not a veteran, but he was in the military. But he had a passion of helping people, helping gamblers and gambling enthusiasts, but most importantly, tolerating no BS and having a clear space of, that's very American, right? Very clear space of no filters, transparency, talking things straight. If there's a casino brand that is not paying with their partners, that is illegitimately having misleading bonus terms and conditions, or accepting players where they should not accept players, that's a big red flag. And Casino Meister was one of the first websites to step in that line, right? Yeah, that's usually good.
Yeah. So I'm going to share a couple of notes that I've written down, and these are things that I've thought about both like in the last 6 months, 1 year, over a long period of time, and also going, how could I be helpful for you? So the things that I've learned over my mini 2-year journey of doing LinkedIn, podcasting, and the newsletter is Being consistent is pretty difficult. That's probably one of the mistakes I've made in running my casino affiliate sites in the past. And by consistent, I don't mean, okay, 10 articles per month. Like when I do a newsletter and a podcast, I'm now doing it once a week. That takes a bit of time. I can't now not publish a podcast once a week. That's off limits for me. Value. I don't want to do a podcast for the sake of doing it. Although if I have no guests, I will basically do own solo cast on a big. I'll talk about a topic, but it won't be just like, oh, here's the latest news of what's happening in affiliate marketing. I'll take something that I know people are talking about. And I get these talking points because I talk to people a lot. And then the last one is definitely video, where it's like podcasting is an extension of video. And every time I've done a couple webinars on YouTube, these things have paid off a lot. So those are three things that are pretty key. And then I want to zero in on an idea that I think it would actually help you stand out from the crowd and give you like your own unique space where it'll make you, in my opinion, untouchable. I think I don't see a lot of this. Like there are podcasts that talk about casinos and sports betting in the industry side of it, but I don't know if there's actually a podcast that just zeroes in on slots. Do you know of any?
There isn't any. You have streamers like Classic Beef. I've met them once in a networking party in Malta. They within the stream they would talk about. They're like Casino Daddy, these big ones, but they would talk about within the stream about a slot. They would say in short words describe the slot characteristics, pay-in lines, the highest pay-in lines, all of that. There are RTPs, but no, there's not really like a dedicated slot podcast out there.
Yeah.
So that's one point.
Because you could do this as your own like sub brand. So for example, this podcast is the Affiliate BI podcast. It's sponsored by StatsDrone. It could have been the StatsDrone podcast. It doesn't make a difference. But you could do one that's called Slots Talk. And what's Slots Talk? You could talk to anyone. Could be players, affiliate managers, VIP managers, casino managers. And then most importantly, which is where I think your ability to create unique content that goes right to players is the game providers. Like you have direct lines of contact with Hacksaw Gaming. I actually think if you got a box of Hacksaw Gaming t-shirts, you could actually put that in the forum saying, hey, we're giving away some t-shirts. Who wants them? Like every time I see Daniel with gaming swag, I'm like, I want that swag too. It's pretty cool. And I think the game providers feel special. I think if you did a slots podcast, you did it once a week, people in the industry would know who you are. The game providers would be, hey, I see he's doing something with Hacksaw Gaming. How can we get our logo on your shirt or get you wearing the hat? Or you've got a green screen in the background. How could that be our logo? Or how could the backdrop of what you're doing be sponsor spots? I actually think you'd be able to make money very quickly with just straight up sponsorship. Hey, this podcast is brought to you by. Now you can choose one game provider, or you can choose, let's say, a neutral company that represents, let's say, casinos or is a single casino or something that's a bit neutral. Because if you do one with Hacksaw Gaming, all of their competitors are going to be a little jealous. So you can always mix it up. You can always be like the top five gaming providers, and that could be your ad intro. In my opinion, if you actually did this, you would make money instantly because you'd be able to do the equivalent of who wants to be the number one sponsor or who wants to be listed in the top 5. Like you can say, I'm going to list 10 gaming providers at the start and end of every podcast. They're all going to want 10. Like they're all going to want in. And even without having any traffic, you're probably going to be able to sell those spots and go, okay, listen, I'm only charging $100 a month, but there's only 10 spots total. As soon as you come in, you can be number 1 or number 8 or number 10. Like there's 1,000 a month. That's basically just printing money just by saying, okay, you're creating something. Now, what's amazing about podcasting for you is this content can be cut up into so many pieces. You got, let's say a 30-minute podcast. Every time I do these podcasts, I end up with like 5 sound bites. Now, I haven't even gotten around to produce this as content, but they can be put on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. They can be like the YouTube shorts. They can be their own standalone clips. I can post that on LinkedIn. You can transcribe all of that stuff and you can put it into smaller things. You can spin that through ChatGPT and go, give me the summary of what we talked about today. And then if you're going to start a forum, then this content can go back inside your forum.
That's interesting, John, because I just found out 2 weeks ago, you can import data on ChatGPT, whatever data it is, a picture of a palm tree, and it will depict how the palm tree looks, or a chart of the last 5 years of GGR in Spain. it would depict exactly how that's the power of AI is insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, I think knowing that your site is still getting off the ground while you're just getting your initial depositing players, you have a tough journey. Your journey is to build content, build rankings. But in my opinion, this would be a super solid play for building rankings because
Yeah.
all this content's going to go on YouTube, rankings. This thing could go on Spotify, rankings.
Exactly.
Imagine you had a keyword that's, I'm just going to make up a really bad example, but this is a real thing. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to Leanne Johnstone, who has Affiverse. So she's got the affiliate marketing podcast. When you Google affiliate marketing podcast, you find her affiliate marketing podcast. Like, it's brilliant. She's also got a newsletter on LinkedIn called Affiliate Marketing Newsletter. Damn it. I Googled the keyword. I'm like, who's ranking for this? LinkedIn #1, Leanne Johnstone. I'm like, played. Yeah, you could do something similar.
Sweet. I just had joined Energy Casino. We had a call because we wanted to know more about her services. She also has like an affiliate course, and when just 30-minute call with her, like she was so knowledgeable, so much, and she's so invested in it. Like it's truly her passion. For me, it was just like a humble experience to be able to share. Just like I'm sharing with you now the stage to just listen to you guys. Yeah.
So the thing is, you could actually call this like my top slot podcast or best slots podcast. That as an entity has a chance of ranking. So I don't know who's ranking #1 for a lot of these keywords, but that's also your opportunity to do one of two things. You could choose to use the podcast as a brand, or you could use it as a keyword, or you can use a hybrid. We know the perfect example. It's Casumo is a brand. I'm actually thinking about like other brands like BitStars. That's a brand. Energy Casino. That's a brand with the keyword casino in it. That helps them kind of rank. I personally like hybrid. I like it where it's not so keyword stuffed. That's just my personal preference. But if you pick something like, even if it was called Slots Talk, and then you had a tagline, we talk about slots, games, and game providers, you actually might start ranking for that. Now, if your website's going to take a long time to get off the ground because Google's like tougher these days, that alternative channel makes you one of like it's your weighted
verticals you get because you will post it on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or mostly the big podcast platforms. But that's the alternative, and that doesn't directly link you to Google. Like for the last 8 months, I've been doing a lot of PPC ads on Meta, on Twitter, and that's keeping me afloat. But eventually, you want long-lasting users. You need to have that storyline that they trust you.
Yeah,
and
so,
you mentioned this.
Yeah. So now if I were you and I needed money today, I think just by creating a podcast, what you're going to do is if you say it's a weekly podcast, you're now holding yourself accountable because once you start doing like 3 recordings, you're like, oh, damn, like this is real. I now need the 4th and 5th and the next year. So when I do this podcast, ever since I started in January 2023, I'm like, I can't not go a week without a podcast. Exactly. So as long as you hold yourself accountable or you say, I'm going to create a schedule. I'm only going to do 12 per year and you call them seasons. Don't care how you do it. The fact that you do it and you make it part of a plan, it gives you the platform you're forced creating quality content. And then it's quality content that you can actually throw advertising right inside. It's a great way of launching this.
You know what I think, John, that fear sometimes can be an illusion. Before I stepped on that stage and in Intercontinental Dublin, I was quite nervous, but also excited at the same time, but like with an apprehensive feeling. But once you step in that stage, you have a presentation that you prepared for 10 hours, you know that you're providing value to people. You're sharing your knowledge with, by the way, industry top leaders, the deputy of Pets and Group, Dario Evangelista, great guy, UKGC commission member. But going back to that fear of starting something that you don't know about, like we talked this a year ago, more or less. I had an idea to have a B2B Insights slot podcast, right? Now, my idea was to have an episode with provider founders and C-levels. Now, that was like a huge unrealistic goal that I set to myself. By the way, that's why I have this screen here and I bought like a microphone. And that's the thing wrong, no? That's something that I learned from, because you got to think big, but you got to start small.
You just got to start. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to start. But now this aspect you mentioned, like you start a slots talk, initially reviewing games, saying that the little details about a high RTP slot game that are actually good out there, that are non-scammy, and of course with those brands that have the highest RTP, as you mentioned before. That's the way to go. And again, you can start with two episodes like this, and then from there, invite a founder, invite an CEO of that company, but slowly scaling it up. But again, fear is an illusion.
Yeah. But it doesn't even, it could be B2B. And I actually recommend B2B because B2B is stuff that resonates with players. If you just stay focused only on B2B, you're going to have so much content that B2C or the players, they will respect and eat it all up. And another idea you could even choose whether you want to do this or not is just imagine you say, okay, there's a new trend and it comes in line with the concept that our attention span, especially with the younger kids today, is becoming shorter and shorter. Like to watch a one long video is becoming tougher. Like this podcast, like we do 30 to 60 minutes. I'm like, I don't care. We still get listeners. So until someone says this is too long, whatever. But some of the podcasts that I'm now fascinated by are ones that are daily and 10 minutes long. They're like, and they got so many different topics and takeaway points. It's a mixture of news and interesting people or insights. Think about it this way. How many slots are launched every day? 1 to 2, maybe 3 to 4. I don't know. It's 30 to 100 new games per month. You've got infinite content. So
They had like 25 slots on one day posted. So,
yeah.
but every day for sure, 2 or 3. Yeah.
So think about it this way. Imagine you did one audio or audio/video post per game. Let's pretend, I'm just going to make this up. Let's pretend it's 10 per day. Sure, that's technically a lot of work, but it could either be 2 minutes long, be 10 minutes long. But if you keep it max to 10 minutes, you now have the ability to be number one on Spotify and potentially number one on YouTube. Forget trying to be number one on Google. You got to go like Big Win Board. They're Big Win Board, Casino Meister, they take up a lot of space and they're just going to expand. If you zig where people are zagging, I think your ability to be the number one voice on audio for slot games, this will be amazing. And after 1 year, you're going to know so much knowledge from talking to these people that they're all going to know to go to. Like how many game providers are there? Hundreds, right? There's hundreds. And how many game providers are launching per month? Like 1 to 2.
For sure.
You've got infinite content. I would say pick like a weekly podcast, or I'd even consider daily. Now, daily is going to be a big thing to do, but when you're getting started, you can be the person that does daily. Once you get enough money in the bank, then you can actually say, you know what, we're going to hire someone where it's a task that has to get done by someone. So once you detect the games that go into Trello, you make it a pipeline. Doesn't matter if it's you or you're on vacation, one of your other team members does it. If you do this all the time, you're going to have an audience of people that are actually like, people actually look on Spotify for different keywords. And even when they're not looking on Spotify for those keywords will then appear on Google. People can link to it in Reddit. It's never ending.
No, it's really insightful. And for sure, like this is just a milestone for me to say, okay, now it's time to record and start small and build something long lasting. But always with the realistic goal that if you start small, don't expect short-term results. Because again, you mentioned my generation, younger generation, they are used to getting, which I mean, somehow can be also part of it, but I have developed a sense of patience and of resilience, but they want instant results. They have a short attention span. And that is, of course, amplified now with all these like real 50 minute, 50 seconds long videos that you would like for 5 seconds and go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. But yeah, it's always like about the value you put in the industry. And of course, I want to be that bridge between players and operators and bring that actual trust and knowledge.
Yeah.
It's about knowledge that slot enthusiasts have before playing a certain slot game.
Yeah. So I actually would say, do the daily podcast or the multiple daily podcasts. There's one podcast, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like the AI podcast. Jaden, I forget his name, Schaefer, really cool kid, excellent speaker, but he's doing 1 to multiple podcasts per day. And they're usually maximum 10 minutes. Sometimes they're like 3 minutes. It doesn't matter. I think if you did this, here's the strategy I'm going to give to you. Make a plan for this podcast that you're going to do. Commit to a schedule. Let's say it's once a day or multiple times a day or once a week. Pick one or the other, but I actually think the daily would be far more interesting. And then talk to potential sponsors and go, would you guys sponsor this? So I'll give you a couple examples of here's how you could possibly make money very quickly. this is what I would have done differently starting my own affiliate marketing podcast. Basically, I'm going to have room for 10 game sponsors and 10 casino sponsors. And then if you want to stay regulated, that's fine. Just create like a cheap price to say, hey, I'm just getting off the ground. Because think about it this way. What's $100 a month for a game provider? That's $1,200 per year. That invoice is almost so little. It's what's great about a top 10 list is that it gets people motivated. This is why top 10 lists work so well on casino sites, because everyone wants to be number one. You can actually choose to make the number one spot more expensive. So you can say, listen, here's the deal. $250 a month for number one, and then the rest are $100 per month, first come, first serve. If you want to be in the top 10, like if number 10 is the last spot available, they will take it. Just ask your potential target sponsors if they would go for this. And if they basically say, if you do this, I would support you. It's a mixture of both support, and if they believe that you're going to create this content in that type of schedule and you stick to that schedule, you could actually be making like a few grand just getting started.
There's two big things here. As of Monday, tomorrow, I have it's one of my close friends that is studying cybersecurity. He's going to be my cybersecurity agent and also SEO manager on my site. And the second thing is that I think around 5 to 6 gaming providers contact me on email a month for a partnership for me to make slot reviews, for me to have MyTopSlot from their partners page. By the way, we're now partners with P Gaming, for example.
Nice.
John, it's time to use that and to actually help them grow with their brand exposure and subsequently give this industry an added value that I've always felt like doing. We would pushing.
Because think about it this way. If you become that guy who's now posting new slots every day, some of your affiliate competitors actually might follow you. They'll be like, oh, I need to stay on top of new slot games. And then if you become that person, the game providers actually might be like, hey, heads up. We have a partnership with First Look Games. We also want to see if we can work with you to be like, can we pre-program this such that when the slot goes live, that you're ready to hit publish. Like you could actually be the go-to guy for all of this.
You'll become a shareholder. You know, think you would, let's say if it gets, wait, man, you're welcome to Tenerife for sure.
This is now going to be changed to the Affiliate Equity Podcast.
Yeah, you'll see tomorrow I have a post scheduled on LinkedIn. I mentioned you in it. So it's fun to read for you.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I would say do that because think about it from a different point of view. The people that are part of the game providers that actually are targeting affiliates, they have their list. They're like, hey, can we work with you, or can we give you the reviews, or can we give you information or the product deck so you to review it? If they know that you're going to be doing this on a podcast, they're going to be, this is actually more, you're now more special than most of their people, even for ones that actually might have more traffic than you. Like it's standing out in a way that it's like, you're now part of their VIP list. No, you're not just another person on their CRM. You're now like the standout ones. You're now priority. Like, how do you become priority when you don't even have the traffic yet?
I'll be on their list soon.
Yeah, no, I'd say like work on the strategy, build the strategy out. You don't need a PDF media kit yet, but if you created a media kit, you can actually just be honest. Be like, look, this is the schedule we're going to do. These are the channels we're going to be on. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to go on socials. We're going to do like a monthly LinkedIn newsletter, and then it's going to be once a day. And then you're basically going to say, hey, we have audio for the first 10 game providers and then the first 10 casinos. And you're going to do at the very start and the very end, say, thank you for our sponsors. It's give just the ideas, the summary, give that to Axel Gaming, give that to B Gaming. Go, hey guys, what do you think? And when you tell them the price, I bet you they're going to be, can I be number one? And the first person you ask actually might just actually say yes. Try it.
You know, after this call, I'm going to actually get into this and try to master the business plan. But you would, of course, recommend that before I would launch this, that I have at least 10 to 15 episodes ready.
Nope. So, no. I would say start with the strategy first. What you're doing is you're testing the idea, like, would these companies potentially sponsor? Now, some will say, I want to see when this gets off the ground. That's fine. But you could actually say, hey, I'm going to start it on this date. I want to know if you're going to commit, because we're going to commit to this top 10 list. And what I would recommend to you is say, you're going to want this commitment for 1 year. So by doing a low price, $250 per month for 1 year upfront, you could say, okay, that's like what? That's a lot of money. That's $3,000. But for the other ones that it's just $100 a month, you're like, look, for $1,200, what it does for you, it saves you on logistics. Because what you don't want to have to do is you don't want to do the next one where you have to re-record your top 10 list and they're changing all the time. That's
Mm.
more admin work for you. Just say, look, you're going to lock in the first year. And then after the next year, once you've built up all that demand, your new pricing is going to dictate who your new sponsor is.
Yeah, and that's when the media could come in. Like I would not make now when I don't know the stats, I don't know the demographics of my podcast data. Of course, first you need to have a certain amount of traffic. That's when you would create a media kit. But of course, I might consult your services, paid services, and you can help me with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is where you probably don't even need the traffic yet, because if people hear your idea, they probably believe you're going to create traffic. Now, if
Yeah.
anyone wants to refute that you wouldn't get traffic right off the bat, I'll be like, look, podcasting is an easier channel. Getting a link to your podcast is 100 times easier than getting a link to your affiliate site. That's another reason why something I totally forgot to highlight. My
Yeah.
ability to generate links for what we do as a company, I can get links all day long to our Spotify channel, our podcast dedicated website. It's so easy. You are now more linkable as an asset. So when you create this as a product, you now make it 10 times easier for people to link to you. Like people would feel less threatened if they're linking to you. Let's say on the Big Win board, someone talked about something you said on your podcast and they link to Spotify. Is Daniel going to ban that saying, hey, don't talk about our competitors? Daniel's going to make whatever. What they don't want is they don't want you going on their forum saying, hey guys, have you heard about MyTopSlot.com? They're going to be delete forever, permanently
Sure.
banned. When you have this as unique content, your ability to appear eventually on lcb.org changes. And you know what? Another link building tip, if you interview anyone from LCB, they will actually mention you in their media partners.
Great.
Casino Meister used to do that. I think Live Casino Compare does that. So if you actually find room to say, hey guys, I want to talk about a topic and I know you guys know a lot of things about, you're creating content that gives you a chance to build links. Links is still everything. And it always will be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Plus now with LinkedIn, I get around 1,000 to 1,500 impressions per post. Even though I don't have a clear personal branding strategy. Fully honest with you. I sometimes feel, for example, now with this conference that I spoke at, I felt that I had to share things, and I also reposted all the clips that they made from the two different workshops I was talking in the crypto shuffle, the affiliate regulation shuffle. But there's exposure. There's people that they don't all watch it or they would read it, but their impressions are there. So based on that data, I think it's time to make a smart yet rational strategy or to start to monetize this as well.
Okay. So I'm going to wrap this up. We'll chat back and forth behind the scenes. I definitely want to help you make this a success. Everything that I've learned in my video and podcasting experience, you got to help over here. This would be an easy way for you to cut through the noise. How are you going to leapfrog people when Google's saying, Google wants you to do this the long and steady way? Like there are strategies that can help you jump and leapfrog without having to do all the years worth of work of Google. So let's talk into the background. I'm going to pass it back to you. How can people get a hold of you if you want them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, people can contact me on LinkedIn, Marco Braun. Of course, I will post this on LinkedIn and I will repost everything myself. You can also contact me .com, but the me or my content writers that would answer. But of course, I would suggest you contact me on LinkedIn because I'm quite responsive. It's Jan, my mentor unofficially. But yeah, I mean, it's always a pleasure, dude. First of all, thank you for making this happen. The first podcast ever for myself.
There we go. Let's do this.
That's history. It's behind us now. But yeah, dude, ever since I launched the website, we wanted to be partners with you. We still have your stats drone guest posts on our site. And once this goes live, happy to promote this affiliate BI podcast, newsletters, and of course, stats drone, which I think is groundbreaking tool you have. And I don't say this like big people, which also in X Gaming, I met big people that talked about you. For example, who was this? Jaspa Payment Solutions. It's a guy named Max. He knows your service, for example. Now, you're extremely big in the space and you're going places.
Thank you. It only took 23 years of iGaming, but I'm going to help you do it in a lot less.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for doing this, and we'll chat behind the scenes. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your progress.
All right. Talk soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Affiliate BI podcast. I'd like to take this time to ask for a small favor to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast. That helps us expand our reach to rank higher in podcast directories and reach more listeners.